88, you asked me how I know he lives. He lives within my heart. Let's sing it together. Here we go, sing. I serve a risen Savior. I know that he is living, whatever men may say. I see his hand of mercy. I hear his voice of cheer. And just the time I need him, he's always near. He lives. He lives. He lives. Christ Jesus lives today. He walks with me and talks with me along my narrow way. He lives. He lives. Salvation to impart. Third verse. Rejoice, rejoice.
不要怕，我们知道你们要找被钉十字架的耶稣，他不在这里，照他所说的，已经复活了。来，看安放主的地方。 我必须回城里，告诉其他人。一起来吧。
夫人，你为什么哭？你在找谁？
先生，你若把他移走了，请告诉我安放的地方，让我去取他。
玛利亚，
拉波尼，
不要摸我，因我还没升上去见我的父。你到我弟兄那里，告诉他们我要升上去见我的父，即你们的父，见我的神，即你们的神。
Religion is the biggest problem humanity faces. It keeps people in a blinded, stupid state and tells them that it's a good thing. And if you ever question anything that it offers, you're going to burn in hell forever.
I've been going to church since I was 2 years old, so as long as I can remember.
I went to a religious school since daycare.
I came from a very Catholic family, and my dad was actually my Bible study teacher.
I was always the kid in Sunday school that knew all the answers to all the questions. That's just how I grew up, and I never questioned it once.
It's interesting, every day you learn about the Bible and read the same stories over and over and over. And it got to a point where I needed to read the whole thing.
About 2 years ago, I really wanted to finalize my argument for Christ, and I wanted the scientific background of it. And I knew I had heard there's historical evidence for Jesus, there's scientific proof that the Bible is real. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I need this information. This is the missing piece to my argument.
I got a handout Bible from a guy after leaving school, and I said, all right, I'm going to read the whole Bible.
I was really confused because the more I looked, I found circular arguments.
And then you start realizing how ridiculous what you've been told really is.
And it just was a circle of nonsense.
And then you start thinking, oh, this is Satan, and Satan's making me think all these awful, abysmal thoughts, and I'm going to burn in hell forever.
I think I started to whittle things down from there. So it was like, okay, well, I reject the idea of hell because it is pretty stupid and awful. And then I went to high school and I became friends with some gay friends of mine and started to see that some of the other parts of the Bible were probably not very nice either.
The summer before my first year of college, I was assigned a book called Brain Rules for my freshman biology class. And this book talked about the evolution of the human mind and the brain and how our ancestors walking on the plains became what we are now. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then I took a step back and I was like, wait a minute, did I just say that evolution, the theory that I've been told is evil and scientists are completely evil, am I saying that evolution is true?
And they want you to fear to think. And we're humans. That's the one thing we have that separates us from every other creature on this planet. We are capable of reasoning.
And it just became more and more leaning towards well, maybe this isn't true. Maybe everything I thought is a lie. And that's a really hard realization to come to.
Now that I've left religion, I feel a lot better about myself and a lot better about who I am as a person, now that I don't have to have this cognitive dissonance between believing absurd stories and following a group. But at the same time, I'm more frustrated. I'm frustrated that people do take these stories at face value.
If I could get rid of religion right now completely, I absolutely would. It's terrible, it's harmful, it's not necessary.
Look at our political system, look at our country. We are completely immersed in religion, and it has way more influence than it should in our daily lives, and it's still has its thumb on society, and people are constantly suppressed by that, and many of them don't even realize it.
I feel like when people say, I'm a man of faith, they should be ashamed as opposed to proud.
40%, 45% of the American people believe literally in Adam and Eve, believe literally that the world is only 6,000 years old. I mean, that's a shocking figure, and you can't duck out of it by saying, oh, sophisticated theologians don't believe it. Unfortunately, what sophisticated theologians believe isn't really relevant to what the majority of Christians do believe.
Chris, I think, Richard, cue Chris from the Evangelical Alliance, if I may, because you believe it's all true, don't you?
I do, yeah.
So you believe that Adam and Eve and Noah's Ark, you believe, to just take something, Genesis 19:5, 2 angels came to Lot's house in Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, he was the only righteous man in the village, and the locals wanted to know the angels. They wanted to homosexually rape the angels. So Lot offered his virgin daughters instead as an appeasement. Sodom and Gomorrah was demolished after that, and his wife turned into a block of salt when she looked back. You believe that happened?
I take my cues from Jesus, who we've already agreed is historically
did that
accurate.
happen?
I believe that Jesus believed the Old Testament to be historically accurate.
Do you believe that that happened?
I believe it happened because Jesus did.
So what lesson are we supposed to get from that story? What moral lesson?
Well, there's somebody
We're going to
missing
come
in
on
this
to the
story.
moral lessons in a minute.
Yeah.
It is a fact,
There's somebody
but
missing.
touch on it now, Richard. What's
Well,
your
we were
question?
just told that what you get from the Bible is moral lessons, and presumably you say this didn't literally happen, but it's telling us something. What is it telling us?
So let's listen to the voice that's missing in this story, which is Abraham. Abraham turned to God and argued with God. So the message that I get from this story is argue about it, debate about it, don't accept it as true completely.
Well, why in that case? Why didn't? If you want to convey a message, which is in this case argue about it, why not just say argue about it? Why wrap it up?
Do you want to remember that message?
Bishop Michael, is this not, if I may ask
you
you a
don't
question?
even know what the message is. That's how obscure it is.
A moral message from the Bible, and of course, Richard, you in your books you've been pretty scathing about the God of the Old Testament. Let me just quote you, if I may. The most unpleasant character in all fiction. Misogynistic, homophobic, racist, genocidal, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic. And you go on, but it's quite a list that you...
I should have thought that was beyond dispute, but I would come on to the New Testament. What about the God of the New Testament? Here we have a God who wanted to forgive mankind its sins, including, by the way, the sin of Adam, who he presumably knew perfectly well never existed. Nevertheless, he wanted to forgive mankind's sins. Why didn't he just forgive them? Why was it necessary to have a human sacrifice, to have his son tortured and executed in order that the sins of mankind should be absolved? Is that not the most disgusting idea you ever heard? Why didn't he just forgive the sins? Why did he have to sacrifice a scapegoat?
I think
the most disgusting thing you've ever heard.
Professor Dawkins has a view of cheap grace. A real forgiveness comes from restitution, from cost, from sacrifice. It is not God sacrificing his son. It is his son who, in obedience to the divine will, living the divine will in a society that has gone wrong, that is corporately wrong, which is what original sin means, by the way.
So there can be no forgiveness without...
Let me just finish. It is his obedience in the context of a corrupt society that leads to his death. That is his sacrifice, and it is that which restores what was broken between God and human beings.
So there can be no forgiveness without a death, is that
No,
right?
it's not. I'm not saying that. There can be no forgiveness without cost.
How can you applaud that? How can you applaud that?
Because it's true.
Well, not everyone applauded. Some people did, but some people applauded you,
Because there's multiplicity of voices, and that's fine.
Wilson, just to come back to you, what about the extraordinary things that Jesus said, that the Bishop Stephen was talking about earlier on? For example, love those who persecute.
Oh, that's wonderful, of course. I mean, whoever said them, whether it was Jesus or not, whether there was...
Why should it not be Jesus?
Well, I don't care if it was Jesus.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful thing to have said.
I mean, why...
Jesus might have said, let him finish the sentence.
Jesus... whoever said it...
Why should he not?
Whoever said it, it was a wonderful thing to say, and of course you can cherry-pick any document and find lovely things to say. But how do you decide what to cherry-pick? You decide what to cherry-pick on the basis of what you have decided is a good thing on other criteria. So we reject the horrific story of Lot and the angels and all the other horrific stories in the Old Testament and the mega horrific story, as I've just said, of the New Testament. You pick on nice stories like the Sermon on the Mount. But the criterion by which you do your cherry-picking is, of course, something that we all share, which is we are decent human beings. That's where we get it from.
But I
so
suppose
we reject those other aspects of the Bible which are frankly horrible.
But in the same way, if you listen to the songs that you listen to on the radio are those that speak to you and speak to your heart. In the same way, that's why you pick them, because they make sense and they speak to your heart and they move you. And that's why you cherry-pick those particular ones.
Of course.
Also, I don't want a hygienic life.
Yeah.
I don't want a life full of things that are just nice and just clean. There's lots that's messy and lots that's difficult that is in the canon and was kept in the canon. Yeah. And also the canon developed. So from a Jewish point of view, we continually developed how we see the Bible, so we continue to develop how we see God and how we see ourselves. So actually, I think there is truth in the messy, horrible stories as well.
That's right. Why? I don't think... You can find good quotations in the Bible to support the point of view that you want to adopt, and of course you can find the exact opposite. So why not bypass the Bible altogether as a source of authority? And simply say, as Shakespeare said, as Milton said, as anybody you like, you quote anybody in literature you like, and as Isaiah said, or as Jesus said, you can get quotations from literature all over the place to bolster the point of view that you want to make. That's what Martin Luther King did, and many other people have done from the Bible. You can get it from Shakespeare, you can get it from Milton, as I say, you can get it from Aldous Huxley,
Dickens.
All sorts of people, Dickens. The Bible should not be given the privileged status. We shouldn't be discussing here, is the Bible relevant today? We should be discussing, is literature generally relevant? Absolutely. Well, of course you can find verses in the Bible that sanction slavery as well. You can, once again, you can cherry-pick. And why bother with the Bible at all when you can go straight to moral philosophy?
Absolutely. I'm extremely scared of fundamentalism. The same fundamentalism that wants to convert people forcibly is the same voice as you have that says, why bother with this? What I'm concerned about is that you can't hear the different voices.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Look, fundamentalism means tying your colours to a particular book. And
or idea, and rejecting everything else.
Exactly what I am doing is saying, do not tie yourself to a book. Look at the good ideas, reject the bad ideas, accept the good ideas, find good ideas wherever you may find them. That's the very opposite of fundamentalism. Yes, fundamentalism is saying, we have here a book, we have to follow what's in that book.
Okay, so I wouldn't, that's not my approach to
Bible.
Bible.
Your approach,
certainly not.
And
nor the approach of most progressive people in this country.
Precisely.
But as a key source text on which we grow and which we develop. And Judaism has taken the Bible and added and expanded and expanded and expanded so that our rabbinic literature is vast, starting with the Bible. But we don't live in the desert anymore. We're not...